Y'all might as well call me Netflix because I can get these white folks just as mad. You start talking about Cleopatra being black and oh my God. What's up? Donnie Chocolate here, barbershop professor. You hear me flicking around the paper. I even got notes. Because guess what? I'm back to talk about it some more. We here to talk about Netflix's Black Cleopatra. That's right. Netflix's Black Cleopatra. Now, to be honest with you, I ain't here to argue over Cleopatra being black, right? We spoke about how people move, how Egypt was occupied territory. You know, it was the Ptolemaic or Ptolemaic, I've heard it pronounced both ways, dynasty where Europeans came in and, they took over and they were the ruling class, right? We talked about that. There's no like real proof that Cleopatra was black. At the same time, there's no real proof that Cleopatra was white either. So we ain't got no definitive answers either way. So, but here we go. So the idea of her being mixed is not as far fetched because of the fact that we don't have the facts. We don't know. And that's okay, right? But really, what I want to talk about is like the outrage of just the idea of a black Cleopatra, right? Um, I posted my video about Cleopatra being black, kind of talking about like, the fact that Egypt is black. Yes, Egypt or Kemet, right? Established the foundational indigenous people of Kemet were black, like what we describe as sub-Saharan black. The sub-Saharan black people of Africa were not always sub the Sahara Desert. People move. This might upset you. Check your racism. That's all I'm saying. Dig into it yourself. Do your Googles. Just do your Googles, right? Again, like I said in my last video, if you don't believe me, that's okay. Go ask the Greeks. Go ask them what the indigenous Kemetic people looked like, okay? So I ain't gonna sit up here and go back and forth with you. If your racism doesn't allow you to actually do the research and stuff like that, cool. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to people who are looking to try to expand their knowledge and expand their idea of what this history, this world history, might have looked like outside of the story we've been told. More on that later. So I think, the thing about the outrage that I got was like, especially in the comments, right? But again, people I'm not talking to, but they was mad. They was talking about my weight. They was talking about how stupid I was. They was talking about there was no evidence, all these different things. So I just started sending them videos of, this is the barbershop professor. I'm not here I'm here to nerd out, but I'm not here to nerd out in a detailed way. I think that is not always accessible to everyone, right? So I might drop a little dime on you, but it's for you to go dig deeper, right? People like the King's Monologue, right? People, even like Billy Carson will tell you, that ancient Kemet was black, right? You start, if you want to look into people, you can look into the works of um, um, Dr. Dang, I'm forgetting names. Plenty of people, right? John Henrik Clark, Dr. Theophil Obenga, right? The UNESCO conference of 1974, right? You can start looking into all different types of people, right? There is research out there about just proving black people's existence all over the world, really. You could talk about Ivan Van Sertima, the presence over here in North America of black folks. You could talk about, Renoko Rashidi and his research with with Africans' presence in Asia. There's research, right? Again, I'm the barbershop professor. Go check them out. Go see for yourself. See what you believe. You ain't got to believe me. Go dig on your own, right? If you're that interested, right? If not, you can take my word for it. And again, if it don't sound right to you, prove me wrong. Um, the interesting thing too is that people weren't really speaking facts. They weren't they didn't have evidence behind what they were saying. They were just saying I was wrong. They were just saying and regurgitating the story that we've all been fed, right? Of what is, established historical accounts and or established historical knowledge, right? Again, just because somebody says the same thing over and over doesn't mean it's real, right? So I think, that was just a big part. Additionally, I think people are really outraged at the possibility of black people actually being integral, not in just the genetic population of the whole world, right? But actually integral in the collective knowledge that the world has, right? Integral in different parts of establishing all types of great societies in our ancient history. That idea is an offensive idea to a lot of races out there, right? A very offensive idea. Now, I'm not trying to say black people did everything, right? Black people did a hell of a lot more than what is told, right? But black people have been an integral part in world history. That's just a fact. And there's evidence of it all over the world. All right. Again, Barbershop Professor, you go check that out yourself. Okay. Um, I think what we really need to get at, and what you really need to understand, is not just history, right? History, we think of history, we think of like, oh, we're just remembering dates, right? All these lies about Columbus came over here and discovered America, and the Mayflower, and John Smith and them, Pocahontas got married. Like all these, like this is history is not actually established fact. History, especially in the context of how history is used in this country and how history has been used by Europeans all across the world, is actually psychological conditioning. That's what it's really about. So when someone comes in and says something like Cleopatra was black, instead of you saying, I never heard that before, maybe it's possible, let me check it out, let me see the evidence, you get offended, you get your panties in a bunch, you cuss me out, you talk about my weight, you talk about how stupid I am or whatever, instead of actually exploring the facts. That is how psychologically damaging our history is, at least how history is taught in the United States. I'll just stay there. That's what I know most. I'm from the United States. That is the biggest psychological conditioning, right? Not about exploring facts. Because if we want to be honest with you, or if we want to be honest, history moves. New facts are found. New information is gathered, right? New theories are created. There is no definite anything about anything, honestly and truly, when it comes uh to not even ancient history, right? We're still debating over what happened in JFK's assassination, right? That's the 60s. Like, that's not even that far back. So if we're still debating that, if we're still debating all these different types of, we still debate 9/11. If people are still debating these things, right, then what makes you think we can't go 1,000 years into the past and have absolute understanding and proof of everything that went on? We can't. But your racism, I won't even, yeah, your racism, it is racism. And I'll cut you some slack. Your conditioning, right, when it comes to history, won't allow you to accept that point, won't allow you to sit there and digest the new information that you've gathered, right? That is a problem. If this is you, I just want you to take a breath. And when you hear something that's outside of the realm of what you already know, pause and just consider it. Pause. Just consider the evidence or lack thereof, which that's what it is most of the time. Lack of evidence that you have to prove your point or to prove your narrative, right? Those are things that are really important, all right? So, history is mainly about like psychological conditioning, right? Creating creating all this idea of how the world should work and how it does work, right? Um, the other thing is, especially as far as history goes, imagine this: a culture that has gone around the world, interacted with all types of other cultures around the world, right? And not base it on domination and exploitation and oppression. Can we imagine what that would look like? We talk about, oh my gosh, now I'm about to really get in it. Especially like the US. We're going over there, we're spreading democracy everywhere. We're spreading exploitation. We're spreading occupation, military occupation. We're spreading control. That is what we're spreading. We're not spreading democracy. We're not spreading fairness. We're not spreading health. We're spreading control and exploitation. That's what European travel has been for the last 1,000, 2,000 years, right? So you have to be mindful, well, probably longer than 1,000, 2,000 years too. At the same time, you have to be mindful of when you say black people were a part of this culture, that culture helped establish shared information, blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to people who can't even imagine a world where people from another race, we know it doesn't really exist, but that's okay. We'll just say, let's different skin color, different culture, go into a foreign land and not just dominate them and occupy them. No, like people can't even fathom that. This is what I'm talking about. This is historical conditioning. This is the psychological conditioning that history and how history is taught. This is what it does to us. This is what an education system does to us. It's not about actually helping people to learn about how to find their own truths, how to back up what is real, what is not real, how to understand that history in itself is multifaceted. It's not just linear. It's not just one theory. It's not just one evidence to say one thing. Sometimes it says multiple things, right? You are smart enough to understand that, but you haven't been conditioned that way. You've only been conditioned to see it the way that they spoon feed you and how they spoon feed you history is psychological conditioning. Okay, so we gotta remember that. Another point. Let's not pretend that other people's detriment is not to the benefit of certain groups. Again, other people's detriment is to the benefit of other groups, right? I'll talk about this probably in more detail, but for instance, right? Having the narrative, the world narrative of world history of black people starting with slavery here in the Americas is actually beneficial to white people, right? Multiple ways. It's beneficial to white people because a lot of times black people will not even, will be discouraged. They would be lost. They don't have the expectation to have their own empires and different things like that. So you can psychologically demoralize a people, right? The other thing is, if white folks don't understand that black folks had major contributions to world history and have participated in it for since the beginning of time, since the beginning of mankind, because the first people were black, right? Okay. So if white people don't have that foundational knowledge as well, it's easier to get over slavery. It's easier to get over discrimination in general. It's easy, right? Because especially when it comes to racism. Racism is all about denial. It's easy for you to deny that a people deserves more. It's easier for you to be okay, right, with people being oppressed. It's easier for you to have the expectation that these people deserve less, because that is your historical and psychological origins of a people, right? This is again this is why history is important. This is why um, this is why you shouldn't just jump at the history that's given to you, especially by the mainstream, especially by the school systems. And this is why it is really important to learn how to learn how you learn, and learn how to find some facts, some evidence, some different things like that. All right. This went a little longer, but I hope people I hope I expand people's minds, especially when it comes to history in general. And I hope I change somebody's heart. This is Donnie Chocolate, the barbershop professor, and I'm out.